Life's journey often takes us through valleys of uncertainty, where the echoes of our prayers seem to fade into silence. Have you ever wondered, why is God silent today? In the moments, we may find ourselves seeking comfort, searching for answers that seem just out of reach. But fear not, for today we embark on a journey of faith, hope, and inspiration. Welcome, my friends, as we dive into the depths of the secret question with the assurance that there is something magical happening in the silence. So I ask, are you ready to discover why is God silent today? Let's go. In the midst of life's trials, we've all experienced those moments when it feels like God's voice has gone silent. The weight of uncertainty can be overwhelming, leaving us questioning our faith and seeking answers. In these times, we might ask, why is God silent during my difficult moments? Imagine a scenario where you're facing a significant challenge. It could be a health crisis, a career setback, a strained relationship, or any of the myriad trials life can throw at us. In the midst of all of this, you pray earnestly, seeking guidance, comfort, or simply a glimmer of hope. Yet, instead of a clear answer or an immediate change in your circumstances, you are met with what seems like silence, a void where you expected divine reassurance. Even great figures like David, a man after God's own heart, expressed his feelings of abandonment in Psalm chapter 13, verse 1. In those words, he said, "How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me?" We hear the anguish of a soul feeling disconnected from the divine. It's completely okay to have questions and doubts in moments like these. Doubt is not the opposite of faith. It's part of the journey toward a deeper, more resilient faith. You're not alone in wondering why God seems distant when you need Him most. Doubt doesn't mean you've lost your way. It means you're actively seeking to understand your path. But here's the truth that we must hold on to. God is always with us, even in those moments of perceived silence. His presence is unchanging. The apparent silence is not an indication of His absence. It's an invitation to deepen our faith, to trust in His perfect plan. Consider God's silence as a test of faith, much like the trials faced by the faithful Job. Job, a man who endured unimaginable suffering, questioned God's presence and purpose in the midst of his pain. He longed for answers, for a sign of God's presence, much like we do when we face our own trials. God's silence may teach us the invaluable virtue of patience, guiding us to trust in His perfect timing. We live in a world of instant gratification, where answers and solutions are just a click away. But in those moments when God seems silent, we are reminded that His timeline is not bound by our human impatience. His plan unfolds in His own time, according to His divine wisdom. Silence, my friends, can be a transformative opportunity for personal growth and spiritual maturity. It's during these periods of apparent quiet that our faith deepens, our character matures, and our trust in God's plan becomes unwavering. Think of it as a season of growth, much like a plant that thrives after a period of dormancy. The stillness of winter is a preparation for the vibrant blossoms of spring. When we emerge from these silent seasons, we often find ourselves stronger, more resilient, and better equipped to face life's challenges. We develop the ability to withstand the storms of life, the calm assurance that God's presence is our anchor, guiding us through even the stormiest of seas. As we navigate this journey together, let's embrace the understanding that God's silence, far from being a void, is a canvas upon which our faith and resilience are painted. our questions and doubts are the raw materials from which a more profound and unshakable trust in God's love and plan are formed. Even in the silence, we are not alone, and a divine purpose unfolds, one that will ultimately lead us to a place of greater faith, hope, and spiritual maturity. Now, real quick, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell for more daily videos just like this. Have you ever had times when it seems like God isn't speaking to you? Surprisingly, these quiet moments give us a special chance to get closer to Him. In these moments, our connections with God can grow stronger, making us change and grow inside. Imagine a time when you found yourself in the midst of a silent, soul-searching moment. It could have been during a walk in nature, a quiet night under the sky, or a moment of introspection in your own room. In these moments, the world seems to hush, and your heart opens to the possibility of a more profound connection with God. In these silent moments, we have the privilege of drawing closer to God, allowing His presence to envelop us. In this divine stillness, we can reflect on His grace, His wisdom, and His unfailing love. I want to share a subscriber's story of spiritual growth during a time of silence. It was a period when our subscriber, Felix, faced uncertainty in their career and personal life. The questions and doubts weighed heavily on his heart, but in the midst of that silence, he felt an undeniable urge to seek God's presence. During those quiet mornings of prayer and meditation, Felix discovered that God's silence was in fact an invitation to converse with Him on a deeper level, to share his heart's desires, and to listen to His gentle guidance. In that silent communion, he found comfort and clarity. The answers to his questions didn't come all at once, but gradually, like the breaking dawn. It was as if God was saying, "Draw near to me, and I will draw near to you." Embracing the idea that God's silence can be an opportunity to deepen our relationship with us is a transformative shift in perspective. It's about shifting from focusing on our needs and desires to focusing on His presence and His will. Consider this time of silence as a divine retreat, a sacred pause where you can seek God's face and listen to His still, small voice. In this quietude, you'll find answers and a deeper intimacy with the Creator of the universe. As we journey together through these reflections, may we open our hearts to the possibility that God's silence is an invitation, an opportunity to deepen our relationship with Him. In silence, we draw near to His heart, and in doing so, we discover that even when His voice seems distant, His love remains ever present. Now let me ask you, have you ever considered that the silence of God might be more than just a pause in His communication with us? It could be a period of preparation, a quiet season where the pieces of our life's puzzle are being skillfully placed together by the divine hand. In Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11, we find a promise that speaks to the idea that God's silence may be preparing us for a greater purpose. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Now, I want you to consider the stories of individuals who, after seasons of silence and uncertainty, discovered their life's calling with clarity and purpose. One such biblical figure is Moses. He lived in exile for years, seemingly far from God's calling. Yet during his quiet years as a shepherd in the wilderness, God prepared him for a monumental task, leading the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt and guiding them to the promised land. And what about your life? Have you ever wondered if the silence you're experiencing is a prelude to a grander purpose? Could it be that, like Moses, you're being uniquely prepared for a role that will impact not only your life, but the lives of others as well? Please take a moment to reflect on your own journey. Consider the challenges, the moments of quiet, and the unanswered questions. Could it be that God is orchestrating something incredible behind the scenes, even in the midst of his apparent silence? The truth is that God's silence is not a sign of abandonment. It's a sign of his intricate craftsmanship, as he molds and shapes us for a purpose beyond our current understanding. So as we navigate through this journey of faith, may we hold on to the assurance that God's silence is not in vain. It's a season of preparation, a time where he is equipping us for a purpose that will glorify him and bless those around us. Let's trust in his promise from Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11, knowing that his plans for us are filled with hope and a bright future. And let's remain open to the possibility that even in silence, our destiny is being woven into a beautiful tapestry of purpose and meaning. Let's embrace the notion that God's silence is not an absence of his love, but a preparation for his divine purpose, a purpose that will shine bright in time. In the midst of God's silence, when words seem to fail us, there is a powerful tool at our disposal, a tool that can bridge the gap between heaven and earth. That tool is prayer. In the moments when God's voice appears distant, prayer becomes our lifeline, our connection to the divine. It's a conversation with the Creator, a sacred dialogue where we pour our hurts and find solace in his presence. Let me share a personal experience that reaffirms the power of prayer during silent seasons. There was a time when I faced a challenge that left me feeling helpless. No matter how hard I tried to find a solution, I encountered only silence. In my desperation, I turned to prayer. I poured out my heart, expressing my fears, my doubts, and my hopes. I found a profound sense of peace in the depths of that heartfelt prayer. And I'm not alone in this experience. Janet, one of our cherished subscribers, shared her own powerful encounter with the divine through prayer during a time of silence. Janet and her family faced a season when the world around them seemed to crumble. Their once cozy home filled with cherished memories was now a stark reminder of the devastating storm's fury. The hurricane had wreaked havoc on their lives, roofs damaged, belongings soaked and scattered, and the very foundation of their home shaken in the wake of the chaos. They turned to their insurance company hoping for assistance in rebuilding what had been lost. Weeks turned into months, and the promise of help from the insurance company remained silent. Janet and her family had a grueling journey of countless phone calls, paperwork, and endless waiting. It was as if their pleas were met with silence and hope began to dwindle. In the depths of their despair, with the weight of uncertainty pressing upon them, Janet turned to prayer as her last refuge. She poured out her heart to God, her voice trembling with the anguish of waiting and the frustration of unmet promises. In the silence of those heartfelt prayers, she felt a profound sense of comfort. It was as though an invisible hand was holding her family through the rough time. She found the strength to keep pushing and keep trusting in God's plan. She had the courage to face each day and the hope to continue believing. As the months wore on, Janet and her family continued to navigate the storm's aftermath. But then, they finally got the good news they'd been dreaming of. The process to get their home up and back running was finally going to start happening. Janet's story is a testament to the power of faith and prayer along the silence of waiting. It reminds us that when we face life's most daunting challenges, our prayers become a lifeline, a source of strength that carries us through the darkest storms. As we listen to Janet's journey, let us draw inspiration from her faith. Remember that even when the world seems silent to our pleas, God is working behind the scenes, bringing restoration, hope, and blessing into our lives. When God seems silent, our prayers are often the most powerful and heartfelt, and these very prayers can be answered in the most unexpected and miraculous ways. I encourage you to maintain a constant prayer life. The power of prayer lies not only in the ability to change circumstances, but also in the capacity to change us. Through prayer, we find the strength to persevere, trust, and hope. Now, let me ask you, have you ever noticed that in the silence of life's trials, when God's voice seems distant, his purpose for you becomes clear? In these moments of introspection and contemplation, the path forward begins to unfold. Consider the stories of individuals who, despite facing their own trials and moments of divine silence, discovered their life's purpose with remarkable clarity. One such example is the Apostle Paul. In his early life, he was a persecutor of Christians, operating in ignorance of God's greater purpose. But through a dramatic encounter with Christ on the road to Damascus, his life was transformed and his purpose became abundantly clear. Romans chapter 8, verse 28 tells us, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." These words remind us that even during trials and silence, God is working diligently behind the scenes, orchestrating events for our ultimate good and his greater purpose. The challenges we face are not obstacles, they are stepping stones on the path to destiny. As you reflect on your own journey, consider the trials, the unanswered questions, and the seemingly silent moments. Could it be that God's purpose for your life is being unveiled through these experiences? I encourage you to seek guidance and purpose through your relationships with God. In those moments when his voice seems distant, dive deeper into prayer, study, and reflection. Remember that God's purpose often aligns with your passions, talents, and the world's needs. It's a purpose that brings fulfillment not only to you, but those whose lives you touch. As we trust in him and his plan, we find our own purpose intertwined with his will. So let us journey forward with faith, knowing that even in silence, we are guided by a loving and purposeful Creator. Now please hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss a new video from us. As we close today, let these words resonate in your heart. Even in the silence, God is working. Trust in him, seek his face, and know that his love and purpose for you are unwavering even when his voice seems distant.